What is up, everyone? It's DSP, and welcome to the second episode of what I'm now going to call the King's Verdict. I wanted to change the name because last time I named it The Verdict, I didn't realize someone else, who actually is a fan of mine, actually has a series called The Verdict, so I didn't want to steal that idea, which I didn't mean to begin with. But anyway, before we start, this will be a series basically where I compare things. So the last episode was the online multiplayer of 007 Bloodstone versus 007 GoldenEye, which came out in the same week. This week I'm going to talk about Kinect versus the PS Move. But really quick, I would like to know if anyone out there is a graphic designer or dabbles in things like logos. I'm basically looking for people to create some pretty good logos for my different shows. So you have this one, The King's Verdict. I'd like one for DSP Tries It, one for Ask the King, and maybe Cooking with the King. I'd like to get some different submissions, and I'm not just looking for a bland logo. If you could maybe cater the logo to something like, for example, if it's Cooking with the King, maybe a chef's hat or some, pans, some cooking utensil. Smart Guys, for example, maybe you could have it be wrestling related somehow, so something like that. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a thread up on my forum on thekingofhate.com that basically says, open submission for graphic artists for logos or something like that. You'll see I'm going to create a thread right after I actually film this video, and hopefully we'll get some good submissions and we'll get some good stuff. When I did this for the Hateful Truth, I got a couple really good Hateful Truth logos that I've used not only in my videos but also for clothing and things like that I've been selling on Cafe Press, so pretty cool. Please keep it up and feel free to submit that. Obviously it's easier if I do it on the website, because that way if you can just post it up as an attachment on the thread. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So take a look for that. But anyway, motion controls. We knew this was coming because if you watch my Hateful Truth on E3 for this year, the main focus for both Sony and Microsoft seemed to be motion controls, and at that point everyone was kind of up in arms, especially the hardcore gamers who had really been loyal to these companies for many years and said, where's the new lineup of games, where's the killer apps and things that we want. We really don't give a shit about motion controls unless you can find a way to prove to us that this is going to really add to our gaming experience. So both the PS Move and Kinect have now been released, and I'm sure that most of you have probably checked out some of my videos of that over at DSP Gaming. If you haven't, definitely go check it out. I play various games on both. With the PS Move, I start out with their launch lineup, which is more like sports games and things like that. I played a bunch of demos. When the demo for Heavy Rain with the motion controls came out, I actually did that. And then I also did TV Superstars, which is pretty hilarious, with John Rambo, and a couple other things like rail shooters that came out later on. On the Kinect, I also played most of the launch lineup, including the game that came with it, Kinect Adventures. We tried Kinectimals, we tried a Sonic racing game, and then of course the most popular one out of all those is Dance Central, which everyone loved to see me make a fool out of myself dancing. So, pros and cons of both. Give me 1 second because I'm actually going to grab one. Pros and cons. Well, the pros of the PS Move. Number one pro is that it's a small camera that's easy to mount on your TV. It's a pretty easy to use controller. Not every game uses the navigation controller. In fact, most of the games that are designed specifically for the Sony Move only require one Move controller. The price point, you can get an entire package of this controller, the camera, and the game Sports Champions for $100. So you're looking for a $100 entry-level price tag. This navigation controller is optional. I believe this costs $30, and it's used for certain games like Tiger Woods Golf, Time Crisis. Doesn't necessarily need this, but you can use it to do a special campaign mode that's built into the game. For the most part, I found this was not needed at all. You could pretty much play most games with just this guy. But there were some exceptions, like Heavy Rain and things like that needed both. So, anyway, price point is pretty good for the PS Move. $100, you can jump in, you can basically play most of the games. Other pros are that the camera is extremely responsive. We found that for the majority of the games, we could get this controller to pretty much accurately work, and when we pointed it at the screen, it usually did, accurately point to where we were pointing. Also, there was a gun attachment, which I don't have on me right now. It's actually in my table here. But the gun attachment that turns this into a gun that works extremely well for rail shooters. And I'd have to say that the lineup of games right now that are out for the PS Move, is there really a killer app in there? Probably not. Most of the games, unfortunately, are kind of like party-ish games that you would probably sit down and play on a weekend with a couple friends. Some games that are an exception to that are Time Crisis, which has exceptional value, being that it has 3 games in one packed in there. The Shoot seems like a pretty decent rail shooter as well, with a lot of replay value, as long as you're okay with doing repeated stuff, meaning replaying the same stages over and over so you can unlock newer ones. But besides that, most of the games, like I think the best game that we played on the PS Move was TV Superstars. The only reason is because it's absolutely hilarious, and obviously we made all kinds of jokes and shit when we were playing it. But even just sitting here, we played the game for maybe 3.5 hours, and we beat everything. We completely maxed out the game. The only thing we didn't do were some of the weird trophies, which is like play it every day or do something weird like that, which no one would ever do. So yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, the PS Move, does it work? Absolutely it does. Is it responsive? Absolutely. Is the entry-level price point good? Yeah, I'd say that $100 is a pretty good entry-level price point, but the problem with the PS Move is there's no real games that you would be dying to use for this right now. Now this could change, because what they've been saying is that when SOCOM comes out next year, when the new Killzone comes out next year, a lot of these games are going to try to adapt using this controller. And so if you're playing Killzone, you're walking around and you can actually use this to aim your gun, let's say, and fire at things on the screen, that might be neat. It might be a neat mechanic. Now, how well it's going to work or anything like that, I can't say. But the bottom line is, PS Move, you know, has a good entry price point, but really there's no killer app right now that's going to make anyone want to run out and buy it. You know, I'd probably say the best game for it is probably Heavy Rain, and most people who already wanted to play Heavy Rain have already beaten it because it came out almost a full year ago now. So moving on from that, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll grab the Kinect box, because I'm not going to take this damn thing off of my TV, that's for sure. Not after the nightmare I went through to get it on there to begin with. So, Microsoft Kinect, okay? A little different than PS Move, because the PS Move, let's face it, the PS Move is a fancy Wiimote, which everyone already, you know, if you had a Wii, you understand how motion controls work. This does work better than the Wii's control. I can tell you that right now. My Wii, I have a lot of trouble trying to configure it for different games. This, for the most part, you can get it to configure for every game, and it works really well. The Kinect is a little different, because it didn't try to say, copy someone for... Now, the notion of motion control, absolutely they tried to copy, but they tried to go their own way and be original, and basically said, listen, we're going to actually make a camera that you don't need any controller. Your body is the controller, and that's how we're going to sell our motion control, because you're not going to need controllers and wires and all that. It's just going to be you kind of doing physical stuff in your living room. So, pros and cons. The price point, $150. Now you're starting to get a little bit on the hefty side, because you've paid $150 and you got one game, just like you did with the PS Move, but now you're starting to thought, okay, well, if I want another game, now I have to drop $200, and you're like, oh man, you know, you're really starting to empty your wallet on this guy. The design of the camera, the mountability, horrendous, okay? Unlike the PS Move, which I had absolutely no problem setting up, this thing was an absolute nightmare to set up, okay? And here's why. Every demo that you've ever seen of the Kinect, they have the camera like this. Actually, here you go. There's actually a picture of a TV on here. They show that the Kinect is actually sitting under the TV. One small problem. Gee, I'm looking at this. Wait a minute. There's no speakers. That's right. Because every single demo they've ever done for the Kinect, they never had speakers. It was always audio going through the TV. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you have a flat screen TV, a large one, that's going to be in your living room, chances are that would be the TV where if you have a stereo or you have a speaker set, that would be the TV the speakers will hook up to. So really, if you want my honest opinion, I think that Microsoft was trying to design this to work for a setup that most people in their houses don't fucking have, which is pretty stupid. If they had done some market research, they probably would have found out, gee, if you need 6 to 8 feet of space to use the Kinect, it's probably going to be used in the family room. If the family room is the biggest TV in the house, that's probably the TV that the speakers are going to be connected to. Therefore, how would you possibly put the Kinect under your TV? You couldn't. It's impossible. So, right off the bat, Microsoft fucked up, okay? They should have done more research. They should have understood that. Now, when I was trying to get this thing to work, or to actually set up with my TV, I couldn't put it under the TV because I have my center speaker is there, and the instructions for the Kinect specifically state, do not, in any circumstance, put this near a speaker because it will damage the Kinect and also interfere with your audio interactions with it, because you actually talk to the Kinect. It has a built-in microphone. So I went out and I found out, guess what? There's no clip per se that you can use to attach this to the TV like there is for the PS Move, because the thing weighs too much. It's actually heavy and it moves around constantly, so because of that you need to buy a mount for your TV. Unfortunately, the universal mount isn't universal and didn't fit my TV, so what you have now is this ridiculous fucking monstrosity on my TV to get the Kinect to sit there, and as you see, it doesn't fit. I have to use DVD cases and fucking cardboard to hold it in place so it doesn't wobble around. It's a dirty fucking mess. And, you know, again, Microsoft, if you're trying to launch a product like this, you really should do more research and understand what the consumer wants. The consumer doesn't want something that's going to be a monstrosity like that, okay? Maybe you should have designed the camera to be smaller. Or maybe if you were going to design a camera that was that heavy, you should have included a mount that would fit on most TVs, rather than have people run out, have to buy additional items. That mount was $40 and it doesn't fucking work properly. I did hear there's another mount that's not really a mount, it's a stand. It's actually a tripod, so it would be almost like this. It would be like taking your mini tripod and putting the Kinect on top of it. But now you have another problem. The tripod has to go on the floor somewhere, right? So if the tripod has to go in front of your TV, now I don't have 6 feet of space anymore. Now I have to move backwards and try to create more room. So right off the bat, the Kinect fails, okay? It doesn't mount properly, it doesn't set up easily, and in addition to that, it needs at least a minimum of 6 feet of space to even operate. That's not a problem with the PS Move. The PS Move, we were sitting here, John and I, you know, the TV's probably about 5.5 feet away. Never had a problem. With the Kinect, constantly having problems. And we didn't even play it on here. We actually rotated it so that we could play it in a more open area over here. And it's just a pain in the ass to get to work. The damn thing constantly loses your hands. There were some games where we couldn't even move the menus, which was ridiculous. We couldn't even select things, and let alone even try out the games. And I have to say right now, the game that works the best with it right now is Dance Central, but even then you have problems. Number one, you can't wear dark clothing when you're playing the Kinect. God forbid. It didn't say that in the booklet, it doesn't say that in anything that comes with it, but after doing research for people buying this thing, it's now all over the internet. The Kinect has a really hard time picking up dark clothing. So if you're going to play the Kinect, you have to wear bright, vibrant colors, okay? Number two, you better be shorter than 6 feet, because what the Kinect does is when you reach up to do certain things, when you step forward to do certain things, the Kinect will not read you properly because you'll be stretching out of the camera frame. So if you're a tall person, you're pretty screwed. I myself had problems playing Dance Central doing that, and actually I have another friend who's taller than me, he's like 6'5", he can't even play Dance Central. He said, it's ridiculous, like I have 8 feet of room, and every time he tells him to go like this, it says he didn't do it right because his hands are above the frame, and he's like, this is bullshit. So really the question is this, was this thing designed for little kids? Because if you have to be a little kid to get the thing to basically fit you in the frame and recognize you, well then, that's fine, but it should be explained like that, which it's not. If you watch TV, they see adults doing it, teenagers doing it. Dance Central is all about these teenagers and young adults doing it, right? So why on earth does the camera not work with tall people? It doesn't make sense. Well, let's talk a little bit about the game lineup. Out of all the games for the Kinect, what games would you really want to play? Well, a kid would probably love Kinectimals. It's a cute game, you have a pet, you do little things that are like carnival games, like throwing a ball and knocking stuff over and things like that. That, I could see, for a kid, that would be a great game to buy for them. You could probably even leave them with the Kinect for a couple hours and they'd be occupied by themselves. Kinect Adventures is a very basic, bland kind of a game with a couple weird looking things to do in it, like collecting bubbles and freaking slapping balls against the wall to basically play like a 3D version of the classic 2D Breakout from back in the arcade days. and it's just really nothing. There's no reason to play the game. It's pretty much, if you just want to try to use this thing and make sure, see if it works, that would be the game to do it. But I wouldn't want to play Kinect Adventures at all. There's a sports game, which is typical sports. There's a driving game, which is just like driving like this. You know, there's dancing, which is probably the best game for the system. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that well with adults, which sucks. There's really, again, similar to the PS Move, there's really no system seller here. If anything, the only game that people would probably want to buy it for is Dance Central. But you have so many stipulations. You have to have at least 6 to 8 feet to get it to work. You have to be short. You have to wear light colors. Like, what the fuck? When I was telling I played a game, I didn't know there were like rules. Like, I have to wear a tie, and you know, this is ridiculous. Like, why do we have to have special stipulations and equipment and shit to play a video game? That's ridiculous. This is supposed to be something we do in our free time to have fun. Not that it's so serious that I need to adjust my lifestyle to play the Kinect. I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous. In my opinion, right now, this is a failed experiment. This is something that could have been great, but they didn't give it enough time to develop. They didn't make it so that everyone can use it, because let's face it, not everyone has 8 to 10 feet of space in their living room, and it doesn't work properly with 6 feet. At least some of the games don't. So let's get down to it. PS Move against the Kinect, okay? Price point, the PS Move wins. It's $100, you get a decent game to play, and it's ready to go. Easy setup right from the get-go. Price point Kinect, $150, it loses because it's $150 and the game it comes with kind of sucks. Definitely the PS Move wins price point. Current game lineup, I'd have to say, unfortunately, in this case, if you're talking pure games made for each thing, I have to say that the Kinect actually wins, because Dance Central, I'd have to say for both systems, Dance Central is the best game right now using these new technology of motion control. So if you're really buying one because you want to play a great game, you're probably going to buy the Kinect and you're going to get Dance Central. There's really no system seller for the PS Move that you're going to rush out, oh, I got to go buy Time Crisis. Well, it's Time Crisis. It's a rail shooter. Who goes out and buys hundreds of dollars of equipment to play a rail shooter? Nobody. So I have to say that one goes to Microsoft. Now, actual functionality, unfortunately, I have to say goes to PS Move, because the PS Move 9 times out of 10 works. It's actually more accurate than the Wiimote. Kinect is basically a buggy piece of crap. Barely works for most games. One game that Sonic Free Riders, we couldn't get it to work at all. The menu system that you were supposed to be able to use for this doesn't really work on the Xbox dashboard. It's only a very limited area that you can use it. You can't listen to your own music. You can't watch your own movies. It's only limited to what's actually in the Zune Marketplace. It's really disappointing, because when they said, oh, you're going to be able to go through all your menus and use your hands, you know, just to command everything, and everyone was like, wow, that sounds great, and then they didn't come through with it. It's only a very limited amount of things that you can do on the Xbox 360 with your Kinect. So, unfortunately, control-wise, the PS Move definitely beats the Kinect right now. But then when you want to take a look and say, future-proofing it, meaning what has the most potential between these two to be a great accessory, to be something that's going to actually improve your gaming experience in the long run, that answer actually has to be the Kinect. Because this has potential. It's brand new. Well, you know, they could put firmware updates for the thing. They could update it to work in a smaller area of space. They could update it to pick up clothes better. And ultimately, if they work on it hard enough, they could have an entire system, and I've said this a bunch of times, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Minority Report, but imagine a system where you could just go through all of your menus by just waving your hands or using voice commands to do things. That's ideally what the Kinect could be in the future. Now, I'm not saying that hands down that's what's going to happen, because we have no idea. It's kind of lame that they released it so early when it didn't seem to be ready to deliver on all the promises that were made about it, but the potential is there. This thing has no potential. This is exactly what it is. It is a motion controller similar to the Wii. You waggle it at the TV to get stuff to move, and that's it. So yeah, there might be some games like I say, Killzone, where you can use this to point and click, but for the most part, there's nothing revolutionary about this. This isn't going to change the way that we game, and it's definitely not going to help when it comes to like menus or anything like that. I've actually used this to get through my PS3 menus, and it's awful. It jumps way all over the place. It's hard to select what you want. It's not very good. So really, between the two, the one that has the most potential right now is the Kinect. If you were going to buy one out of the two, Really what you should look at right now is the game lineup and what you want to play. If you're into a dancing game, Dance Central is probably the best dancing game out there right now. It's a lot of fun, and it is pretty much the only game worth buying the Kinect for. But if you're looking for variety, if you're looking for regular games, for example, a golf game, a game like Heavy Rain, or games in the future that might be like first-person shooters that are going to use motion control, then you're probably going to want to go with the PS Move. But the overall verdict on both of these, the honest truth about them, there's no reason to buy either of them. There's no reason, unless you really want to spend a weekend or two laughing, which I did, for example, with TV Superstars with the PS Move. Sure, John and I had a lot of fun for about 4 hours, but the bottom line is, who wants to spend $100? Now keep in mind I have two of these, so it's really going to be more than $100. It would be $100 for the basic setup, another $50 for another one of these, plus you have to buy the game, so you drop $200 for one weekend, which is just a couple hours of fun. It's not worth it. It really isn't. There's no reason to buy motion controls right now, which is exactly what we said during the E3 review. There was no reason for these companies to rush into motion controls. They didn't do their research. They didn't try to create a reason to buy this. If you could sell me on a reason why I need this, show me a game that's so different and so interesting because you're using this, I'll go buy it. But what is there? There's nothing. They're adapting games that already exist like Heavy Rain to work with this rather than looking at the future. It's stupid. And this stupid thing doesn't even work. So how do you fucking try to launch a whole new system of motion controls that don't work for the majority of people who want to buy it? This is dumb. And it's a waste of time. And, you know, the only reason that I bought these is to give you guys, basically show you guys what my experiences are with these, and hopefully you don't run out asking, you know, oh, I want this for Christmas, or I'm going to go buy this immediately, and then you end up with a bunch of shit. The bottom line is, this is a bunch of shit. There's no reason to run out and buy these motion controls yet. Now I have them, so if in the future they do ever do anything to adapt these things and make them worthwhile, we'll find out because I'll be able to test them out. But there's no reason to buy them, especially the Kinect. I mean, the damn thing doesn't even work for most people. So unfortunately, I have to say the verdict on both of these is a fucking giant thumbs down. If I had to choose between them, I would choose neither. I would save my money, and I would go buy some of the great games that are coming out this holiday season, like Call of Duty Black Ops, like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, like Sonic Colors, like Fallout New Vegas, like Fable 3. All these great games that just came out that you could be spending your money on, and instead you're going to go drop $200 on fucking gimmicky motion controls. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So, DSP's opinion, the King says, fuck all this. Don't buy it yet. I'll let you know if anything does ever come out that's a killer app for any of this stuff, but right now, it's not worth it. Neither Sony nor Microsoft have any reason to sell this shit besides trying to make a quick buck during the holidays, and don't be stupid, don't be fooled. There's no reason. They're not ready yet, they didn't perfect the technology yet, and it's not ready to be purchased. So, that's my verdict. So this is DSP. You know, I'm going to tell you, you know, like it is. I'm always honest with you guys, so that's the reason why a lot of people like me so much. It's just not ready yet. These controls are not ready to be sold, and it's just way too early to be an early adopter and end up getting screwed because you drop this kind of money and there's nothing to play on it and it doesn't work properly. So, if it changes, I'll let you know, but for now, that is my verdict. So, alright, that's DSP, and I'll see you next time on The King's Verdict.